Hey Snapchat, I promised I was going to kick off a series on sales, so today is going to start 6 or 7 snapstorms on sales. The first rule of sales is why buy anything? You've got to persuade somebody that they have pain or a problem that you're going to solve. In enterprise sales, sometimes people call this a needs analysis. This is one reason referenceability matters so much, because you can show clients that other competitors in their industry solve the problem this way. One of the most common tools in why buy anything is an ROI calculator. ROI stands for return on investment, and what you're trying to do is show a client what the return on an investment would be in investing in your solution. It's often difficult in the why buy anything discussion with a client to immediately say to a client, what are your problems? The way I recommend is you go in somewhere and you start with what we find is, and what we find is examples of clients in their industry without naming names. What we find is clients have these types of issues. What you're really trying to do is tease out a discussion, but trying to do it in an authentic way where they don't feel threatened. If you can't identify problems that your prospects are trying to solve very clearly, you're not going to sell anything. And this is the top end of your funnel. It's all about qualification. Qualify, qualify, qualify. If I can't identify a problem, I should move on immediately to the next prospect. And frankly, if I don't have many prospects that have problems that I have a solution set for, I really shouldn't be in business. Why buy anything is the easiest part of sales. It's the thing that you should consistently be able to find prospects that you push into your funnel. Once you've persuaded a customer that they have a problem set that you can solve, now you move to why buy me. Nobody likes to talk to a vendor where they feel like they don't have choices, even if they like you. The psychology of purchasing almost dictates that you need to consider alternatives. It's why I always tell startup companies you want competition. Without competition, there's no decision to be made. Why buy me is persuading a client of one thing. It's called a USP. USP stands for unique selling proposition. That's what makes you the most unique company to solve their problem. The reason that you have a much better chance of winning clients if you get there before the competition is you define the rules of engagement. You begin to frame in the client's minds a decision framework oriented around your USPs. That's why I always say responding to RFPs is usually a low probability outcome. The reason is when you look at a set of requirements that come in an RFP, it's usually written by another company. And by another company, I mean your competitors. Your competitors have gone in and told the client what they need, and those are defined as a set of requirements. And those requirements are almost certainly the USPs of your competition. If you can get in and define a decision matrix around your USPs, knowing that the competition will have a hard time responding, you'll win more than your fair share. So I like to say, if you can't solve why buy anything, quit your job. If you go into why buy me, you ought to be able to win at least a third to 50%. Obviously, it depends on your market and how competitive it is, but you don't want to be spending a lot of sales resource on deals that you're not winning at least a third of. That's why increasingly companies have set up marketing departments that qualify leads and BDRs that end up qualifying sales leads. BDRs are business development reps, and what they do is they filter out non-qualified leads from qualified leads so that when a sales executive gets involved, your most expensive, valuable resources, your probability of winning is already gone up. BDRs solve a lot of the initial why buy anything questions and at least position the why buy me question. Honestly, what kills most sales efforts is why buy now. Lots of people identify a problem and they like your company and they like your solution. They just don't have a compelling need. In theory, they'd like your solution, but with all the other things on their plate, they're going to focus on other stuff. It's the easiest excuse as a buyer. I don't have budget. I don't have resources. I don't have an immediate need. So the real goal in sales is solving why buy now. And what I like to talk about is creating a compelling event. Sometimes I call it a burning platform. People say burning platform because it's like you're on an oil platform and it's on fire and your only choice is to jump into the water. There are many different types of compelling events. Obviously, one of them is scarcity. Another potential compelling event is competition, if they're worried that their competition is going to have this solution before they are. Another compelling event is if you can show them the economic benefits are so great that they have to do it now. Another compelling event is risk. If people are concerned that if they don't have this solution, they might be exposing themselves to massive risk. Sometimes compelling events are driven by the buyer. Perhaps they have budget that if they don't use and allocate, they're not going to be able to spend. The most powerful compelling event you don't control, and that's things like regulatory requirements. That's why initiatives like Sarbanes-Oxley or Y2K drove so much business. That's why, for example, when Sony got hacked by the North Koreans, there was so much purchasing of security systems. In economics, we call these exogenous events, things that can't be controlled. And sometimes you just find yourself in the right place at the right time. The key is sometimes you can't create a compelling event. Sometimes you can't solve the why buy now. When you can't solve why buy now, what you're supposed to do is push that lead into marketing. It then goes into a marketing funnel where that person gets messaged to on a regular basis so that you stay top end of their mind. And as more and more leads go into marketing, and marketing does something called nurturing, they nurture those leads along. And then every year, more of those marketing leads that got nurtured, it becomes more urgent for them to solve the solution. There's nothing worse than a sales rep or you as the founder of a company spending time with the lead who can't solve the problem right now. Remember the 3 rules of sales: qualify, qualify, qualify. That's it for today. I'm going to get a lot more into sales over the next week. I hope you'll get some education out of it, and I really appreciate you tuning in.